And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, today we're taking a look at a game called Exoplanets. Now this cover is not really that intriguing, but the idea of terraforming a planet intrigued me enough that I was able to look past this kind of boring cover and hope that the game inside it is good. I like science fiction, but I also like science. You know, not everything has to be sci-fi, and this seemed like it was more in that regards, although still kind of futuristic as you get life and species on different planets that are revolving around a sun. The sun has apparently a lot of planets that are going around it. This is a solid Euro-style game. Let's take a look. In the middle of the table, you're going to place a sun piece, and inside this piece are energy resources. There's energy, gas, and water resources in this game. The ones inside the sun are basically used as a countdown for when the game is over. Now, you're going to have a certain number of these coming out from the sun. There's a planet here, and these are space tiles where planets will go. These will gradually get filled up, these space tiles, and the number that are there depends on the number of the players in the game. The first thing a player does on their turn is they're going to put out a new planet. Now near the side of the board there's two piles of planets. You can pick one of these planets, or you can draw two tiles from the bag. When you draw two tiles from the bag, you pick which of the two planets you wish to put out, and you put the other one on top of one of the two piles. When you put the planet out, you're going to put it out somewhere, and then the space tile that was there goes in your hand. You'll start with some space tiles as the game goes by. Now, whenever you place a tile out on the board, you always get one energy from the sun. But you're also going to look at the tile you just placed and the one that it connects to, and you'll look at the resources that you get for the connection there. So this, for example, gives me one gas and one water. Had I connected perhaps this one here, I would have gotten two water. After you place a tile out, then players can put life on planets. When you put life on a planet, the cost of putting life on the planet is at the top of the planet. So this planet here, for example, needs one energy. So if I have energy, I'd pay energy to the bank and put life there. Perhaps I wish to put two life there, or three. The most you can put on a turn is three. But let's say I already had three there. I could add two more and then start a species. You put these markers out instead of five. And then once you do that, you've started a species on that planet, and anyone else who has a cube on that planet, maybe someone else was trying to get that one, will get kicked off, and they get one resource of their choice, but they can no longer go for that planet, putting life on it. Whenever you put life on a planet, you're also going to take one of these discs off creation. When all the discs come off creation, then everyone returns them, and for every two you return, you get a resource of your choice. Now, then it's the next player's turn. However, on a player's turn, they also have a chance to play space tiles. Now, the game comes with quite a few space tiles. Here's an example of one, diversified evolution level. Space tiles do a couple things. One, if they accomplish the goal here, this says diversified evolution level, you can play it in front of you, and it's going to be worth 3 points at the end of the game. Well, how do you know what exactly that means? Well, the game comes with one of these for everybody, so I would just look that up. It's number 10, diversified evolution level. If I create life on 3 planets with different life creation costs, 1, 2, or 3. So you can see that when I put life here, it costs 1 energy. Putting life on this one costs an energy, a water, and a gas. It's more expensive to put life on this planet, although it's a much nicer planet. So if I put one on a 1 planet, a 2 planet, and a 3 planet, bingo! I've accomplished this goal. I would place it in front of me. Or I can use the tile as a special action. When you use a special action, you're just looking at the bottom. However, when I use this tile, this causes me to take a black hole marker, which is over here. Sometimes the tile make you take a solar storm marker. When the last one of these markers is taken, whoever has these will cause, the solar storm will cause people to lose resources if they have a solar storm marker, and whoever has the most loses more resources. And the black hole, when those are gone, for each black hole marker you've taken, you'll lose a space tile from your hand. Some space tiles have one-time use options on them. They are gray at the bottom. So this one here just simply lets you take some things. On the bottom, each of these has symbols, and on the back side of the sheet here, there's a whole one. So here, basically, I can take 2 of my life planets from a planetary system, I can just basically pull them off if I want to put them somewhere else, because you are limited to the number that you have, and you can't put more out if you don't have them. So great ones are one-time use. You use them and discard them. The rest of them, like this one here for example, extreme conditions, are put under a planet that doesn't already have one. So you'll see here, the extreme conditions, this basically tells me to add a 3-point token to the 2 planets that are next to it. So I would put a 3-point token on this one, and a 3-point token on whatever planet's going to show up there. At the end of the game, those planets, if you have life on them, are going to be worth extra points. Sometimes these tiles will tell you, for example, this one, this space tile, put a 2-point token on everything in the same orbit. So this is in orbit 2, so then a 2-point tile would go on the planet in orbit 2 on the other different spots. Sometimes they will add costs in resources to the tiles. Sometimes they'll make the tiles cheaper. There's different effects that they will have. So that's pretty much the game. Remember, this is a countdown as all these come out. That will show when the game is over. At that point, players will score points. If you have a planet with life tokens on that planet, you will score points equal to your life tokens times the number of icons on that planet. So if I have 3 life tokens on this planet, that's worth 9 points. If I have a species marker there on top of that planet, 15 points, while a species marker on this planet is only going to be worth 5 points. You'll get points for each of these tiles that you've accomplished over the course of the game, and you'll gain and lose points for the positive and negative tiles that you've placed out on, or that are on planets that you control around the board. Add up your points. Whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. The flow of this game is very smooth. I really liked how everything went together. I don't know what it was, but something about these life and species marker made me think of Monopoly, putting out the houses and then the hotels on the different tiles, because you were so limited by the number you had. You would put 3 life somewhere. Now, in this game, if you put 3 life markers on something and you need to jump up to 5, you don't need to put more life tokens on. You can just simply take the 3 off and put these on, as long as you can pay the costs. But I did find that interesting. You have to be very careful where you put everything. But I think the most fascinating part of this game are these space tiles, because they're really intriguing. You get them, you're like, okay, species and gases. So I need to get some species on gas planets. So how can I do that? Because that's worth 4 points. Or I can use it on the bottom here. Whatever I use on the bottom here can really come in handy for me. And I like that the planets will change, and you can try to mess with opponents by the planet that they have a species on, you make that one worth -3, or they will do something to make something worth more. So there's a little bit of back and forth in that regard. Although the better tiles, like this one here, is a great one because it adds the gas tokens to all the planets in the same orbit, which will really mess up your opponents. But when you do it, you take a black hole marker, and you don't want black hole marker because these are precious and you don't want to lose some of them. So I do like that that's in the game. I thought that went well. The game flows very well. You put out a planet, you get 3 resources. You use those resources. You might get resources in other ways and things, but for the most part, you're getting those resources and using those resources to put out life and upgrade it to species, and then modify it with these tiles. I do worry that the game is already lost in a crowd of similar games. I think that this game has a few things that stand out, most notably these tiles. It plays very pleasantly. It plays very quickly. I think it plays just as well with 3 as it does with 4. The planets out there, you have a lot of options, but it's not too brain-burnery. There's ways to mess with each other. It looks good on the table, although I think this game could have used a board to put these, you don't need the board, but it could have used one, especially if you're going to put it out in a box this size. This whole game could have fit in a much smaller box otherwise, so I don't know why they put it in such a big box. I know that when I showed you these reference sheets, some people might have been like, oh, that stuff. But it's not hard, and I actually like that because I get colonization. There's a number on it. Look it up. Create a species on each of 2 adjacent planets. Well, that's not hard. I can do that. Or what do the symbols mean? There's not that many, so I just look here, see what it does. And since you only have a few tiles, and you don't need to worry about what other players have in their hands until they play it, it's pretty. This reference sheet came in handy. The only complaint I might make about the gameplay of the game is that these tiles, you could get lucky. So let's say, for example, you can't play 2 of the same tile. But let's say, for example, it says create life on 2 different types of planets. So I do that. And then the next one says create a species on 2 rocky planets. Well, one of the places I already put a species is on a rocky planet. So I'm like, yeah, I'm already halfway to that goal. And then later on, I have one that says, put one on a planet in the first orbit. Well, hey, that's where the rocky planet happened to be. So I feel like sometimes you can get really lucky in that regard, and these can be enough points at the end of the game. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think the luck overrides it, but you certainly want to draw these and think about them, and you got to be careful because of special actions. Like, yeah, but I might want that for points instead. A solid game, certainly one I think people should check out. It has some different feel to it. That's Exoplanets. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!
There.